Hi, this is the second video on community learning and transformation teams. So what are some of the issues that do crop up when you engage in a community learning and transformation team? And how do you go about designing something like that so that students succeed in the course, there's greater retention of knowledge and success as well in terms of performance? Well, first, we've got to look at the goal of the community, goal of the community learning and transformation team. And that is, you need to be able to foster a culture of learning where both each individual and the community as a whole are constantly learning how to learn. And we have different learning styles. Some of us learn by just reading something. Some of us have to actually hear it. Some of us have to manipulate it in some more tactile in terms of a learning style. And so in this community, people learn differently. And so in your team, people will learn differently. And so you want to share your ideas in a way so that others will gain understanding of what you have to say. And that there'll be a sense of community as you share those ideas. And people will be able to piggyback off each other's ideas as they move, as they synthesize those ideas. Part of the goal of the community also is to synthesize multiple perspectives to solve problems. Again, the goal really of education in the long run is to solve problems. So often we think of educational learning for the sake of learning, and that's okay. But ideally, it's to solve problems and to advance our understanding of ourselves and the world. And so again, we must learn to value the differences, respect the differences within the community. Second, we must develop learning activities. And in these learning activities, and that's what I will do on my side, is to design learning activities that will foster this type of environment. And in these learning activities, there must be both individual development and collaborative community development, individual learning and communal learning. And for that to work, certainly there must be a sharing of knowledge and a sharing of skills among the community members. And we must also work hard at making learning processes visible. Well, how did you figure that out? How did you go about the process of? And so we must ask questions like that so that we can try to understand the thinking behind an idea. That'll allow us to be more empathetic of each other's ideas when we know what brought that idea to the surface. What's the background, the historical background of this idea? So it needs to be a social environment, a cooperative environment. The other thing that will change when you have a community learning and transformation team are the roles, the traditional role of the teacher and the traditional role of the student. And I say traditional, quote unquote, because originally the role of the teacher was to dispense information to the student, and the student would absorb or assimilate that information. The teacher had a role of power. It was a powerful role, a superior role, and the student's role was subordinate. What happens in community learning and transformation teams is that this power relationship shifts, really in some sense, from the teacher to the student. And as it shifts, students become responsible for their own learning. So students become responsible within a team setting for each other's learning as well. It's not to say that the instructor has kind of washed his hands and given up on helping the students learn. It's that there must be some ownership as well. Students learn to assess their own progress. They learn to assess the community's progress. And really, there's a sense in which when the community moves forward, each individual in that community moves forward as well. So often our understanding of learning is very individualistic. The other thing is something called centrality or peripherality and identity. And this is the degree to which people play a central role and are respected by the members of the community. And when you play that role and when you are respected, it helps to enhance your identity. It helps to enhance your self-worth. You're valued not only for yourself intrinsically, innately, but you are valued also for what you contribute. And each member of the community must have an opportunity to participate fully and completely, not in a peripheral role, but in a central role. Now, it doesn't mean that you will be central all the time. Certain students may have to contribute at a given time, and they will be in the front, you might say, and the rest of the students will be in the background. They'll be foregrounded, and sometimes it'll be the reverse. It all depends on your skill and knowledge, right, as to what you can offer the community at that point in time. So as members of a learning community, you'll take different roles and you'll pursue individual interests, but it's always toward common communal goals. So identity is enhanced. There's also a sense of not only of individual identity, but there's a sense of community identity. There's something about working together. There's something about learning how each other learns and then having a community identity. It's like a team. Each team has a community identity. If you think of football teams, and I mean the game that you play with your feet, not the game that you use your hands to throw with. Forgive me if I've offended you. And I think of Manchester United, or I think of Chelsea. There's a team identity, and so also in your community learning and transformation teams, there ought to be a team identity. A sense of who are we? And then you must be willing to share resources. Resources, usually what happens is that somebody finds a resource and they hold it for themselves. You might be involved in a work environment where people keep resources to themselves because they're afraid of other people getting promoted above them, and so they don't share that information. And lastly, we have the idea of discourse. Discourse is really the language which describes ideas and practices that emerge in that interaction as you construct and negotiate understanding and meaning and knowledge. It's in that interchange of ideas. So there it is, community learning and transformation teams. So I do certainly want you to take it seriously this semester. I think it is phenomenal, a phenomenal idea. Most Fortune 500 companies, as I said before, engage in these type of productive teams where diversity is central. So as you think through the semester, I want you to engage your team members. I want you to value them. I want you to help them learn. I'll be here and I'll be central, but at the same time, you'll be working in these teams to enhance each other's sense of identity, sense of knowledge, sense of learning. And I think this will make for an awesome semester. Thank you so much.